This wasn't about territory. This wasn't a hit ordered by enemies. This was internal. A quiet war over who would lead, who would die, and who had the commission's blessing to do it. Before the bullets flew, there were meetings, warnings, and a quiet nod from the top. Do what you have to do. In the aftermath of Carmine Galante's assassination in 1979, the Bonanno family was in freefall. Galante's arrogance and independent heroin empire had alienated the other families, and his murder, approved by the commission, left a power vacuum no one could fill without a fight. Though still imprisoned, Philip Rusty Rastelli was technically boss. And on the street, his two most loyal allies, Joe Massino and Sonny Black Napolitano, were working hard to consolidate control. But a new storm was already building. Three Capos, Alphonse, Sonny Red Indelicato, Philip Philly Lucky Giaccone, and Dominic Big Trin Trinchera didn't believe Rastelli should still be calling the shots. Each had their own crew. Each had political connections, and most dangerously, they had quiet support from the Genovese family, particularly from Vincent Chin Gigante, who was no fan of Massino's rising power. They saw the Rastelli faction as vulnerable. Rusty was behind bars, Sonny Black was operating more independently, and Massino was rising fast. Too fast. The Three Capos believed the time had come to assert control. With their own powerful crews and quiet Genovese backing, they were ready to force a leadership change, one way or another. Word of the tensions reached the commission. The last time the Bonanno family had imploded, during the Banana War of the 1960s, it had nearly cost them their seat at the table. The commission didn't want another civil war, and so the bosses, including Paul Castellano of the Gambinos and Vincent Gigante of the Genovese, issued a clear directive. Settle it peacefully, no blood, no chaos. Both sides were told to stand down and resolve their differences through diplomacy. And so began a series of peace meetings. The first was held on February 4th, 1981, at the Ferncliff Manor in Westchester County, a secluded neutral spot often used for private business. The second meeting took place at the Embassy Terrace, a catering hall in Brooklyn. At both sit-downs, the air was tense but civil. Capos from both sides made appearances. There were handshakes, nods, and vague promises of unity. But behind the scenes, both factions were preparing for war. For all the gestures of peace, Sonny Red and his crew didn't trust the process, and they weren't planning to wait and see how things played out. They began stockpiling weapons, rallying soldiers, and monitoring Massino's crew. To the outside world, it looked like peace, but in the shadows, a purge was being planned. And it wasn't by Massino. The turning point came when Carmine Tutti Francesi, a Colombo soldier with his ear to the street, noticed something unusual. He heard whispers that Sonny Red's people were buying automatic weapons, and fast. Francesi, loyal to the commission's will, took this intel to Massino. Massino now had a decision to make. He had followed the rules. He had sat through the peace talks, but the other side wasn't playing by the same rules. Massino brought the intel to Paul Castellano and Carmine Persico, the Colombo boss. He didn't demand permission. He laid out the facts. What Castellano said in response would become one of the most consequential nods in Mafia history. Do what you have to do. That was all Massino needed. The commission hadn't ordered the hit, but they wouldn't stand in the way. And in the Mafia, inaction is permission. Massino moved quickly, but not recklessly. He handpicked a small, trusted crew. His brother-in-law, Sal Vitali, Montreal-based Sicilian mobsters, Vito Rizzuto and Emanuele Ragusa, and a fourth gunman known only as the Old Timer. These were men brought in for their silence, precision, and distance from New York, perfect for a job that demanded both deniability and absolute loyalty. The location? A Brooklyn nightclub called the 2020 Club, a familiar neutral venue that wouldn't raise suspicion. A message went out to the rebel capos. There would be one more meeting, one more chance to settle things like gentlemen. They accepted. They were told to come unarmed. They believed they still had Genovese support, and they believed the commission still wanted peace. What they didn't know was that the balance had shifted. The Genovese had stepped back, and the commission, quietly, unofficially, had given Massino the green light to act. They didn't know it yet, but their fates were already sealed. In part 3, we step inside the 2020 club, where masked shooters waited in a closet, where a coded signal would trigger the ambush, and where the three capos walked in smiling, but never walked back out.